Hi, Dennis here at Cappel Training Tuning. This is a recap on the video that we did about how to get a horse to respond to you every time. That statement's a little vague. You know, horses are responding to us all of the time when we're around them. They don't always respond the way we want them to. And this video is about giving you the understanding so that you can get them to respond to you as you want them to, when you want them to, every time you ask them to do something. And basically what we're using is what I call a flight zone. And we'll take this guy here and put him in this circle. Around him is I've got this phone charging cable laid out here to represent a flight zone. And this is not a consistent size. This size can be small. When we look down and we just don't move, this circle gets small. When we raise up, or especially if we raise up wearing a hunting costume in the midst of the horse pen, this thing's going to get pretty big, because you know, a stranger's presence in animals that don't know them, the stranger is going to have a bigger bubble than the person that goes out there every day and feeds them. These animals aren't little computers that are out there. They are instinctively on high alert for their safety. So we've got to know exactly how to utilize this. I call it the bubble theory. It's what I use to get a horse, to help me to get a horse to understand how to work a cow. This is a tool that is always present, whether you're worried about it or not. Have you ever talked to somebody and they get too close to you? They're inside your bubble when they do that, and it's an uncomfortable feeling. You just want to raise up and get back, get away, you know. But the more you get to know that person, the closer you will let them be. It still might not be as comfortable for you as you'd like, but the better you get to know that person, the closer you will allow them to get to you. Well, our animals aren't any different. And I've mentioned before about how that a faced up, let me get this horse here. A faced up posture is a defensive posture. And let's say that this guy just come out of the house and he walked out and he got here. Well, as of this moment, his bubble is not touching the bubble of this one. So this horse might be over here just eating, not paying attention. So as he comes along and all of a sudden those bubbles touch, now then we get an animal that will give you an awareness. They will acknowledge your presence. Now, it's interesting, I think, that the bubble is going to be real close to the back of a person. In other words, it's not going to be putting out much energy towards the back. So the energy is going to be exuding out to the front. Well, so the same thing is for a horse or a cow. Their bubble is going to be out in front of them. And you think about this animal is thinking about his own safety. So if he's faced up to you right here, he can see to his left, he can see to his right, he can see right directly in front of him. What does that mean to this horse? Well, it means that the sooner that he suspects something is dangerous, he can turn and flee. So by being faced up, that's why I call that a defensive posture. Now, how do we change this? We change it the same way that I just described, that you get comfortable with a person. You spend time out there, and you spend time with logical thought. And if I want this animal to go this way, I've got to somehow get my bubble over here on this side so that this animal will turn away from the presence of this contact right here. And then I can start letting those bubbles overlap a little bit. Now I've got more influence. Instead of just this very tip where they just met, I've got a little wider influence. Now you have to be careful here, because when you get too close, you give up your advantage of position in communicating with the animal as you want them to be. When this prey animal feels this presence right here, that connection right there, and he turns, he's walking away from this pressure, and he's trying to get his bubble to get away from touching this one. That's why he's walking away. Well, if we realize that, now we've got a tool. So we know that if we approach the animal on this side of his body, this would be the left side of his body, and we want him to go to the right, if we become aware, and you'll develop a sense when you're doing this that you can feel when these bubbles merge. It used to be very frustrating to me to take somebody out in the pasture to help you gather cattle, and they don't have a clue about driving cattle. They'll be blundering off up in there too close to the cows, and the cows are fleeing from them, but this person's unaware of it. So, so while they're out there scaring the hell out of the cattle, and you're trying to gather them up, you know, a part of this bubble is doing too much because of that one person not being aware. So even when you're working by yourself, you've got to be aware of what is your influence doing to this animal. Is the animal paying attention to you, or is it not paying attention to you? What do you want that animal to do? These are questions that you're going to want to ask yourself all the time. And talk to yourself like that. Don't just go out there and the animal walks off and you wonder why. Go out there and when you do this, when your bubble touches there and the animal walks over here, it's because you deliberately decided you wanted the animal to walk over here. You know, and then you can move over here just a little bit. Now the animal's going to walk this way. This animal is usually looking for a way to remove his presence from yours. Now, as they start to develop some trust in you, because let's say that you decide you want to go back this way, so you come over here and you merge the bubble right here. There's a fence right here. Now this animal turns towards it. If you've approached it correctly, if you approach it a little too much this way, you're going to turn them into the fence. So you got to know, how am I being perceived when I go close to this animal, and keep in mind that the effect that the bubble around the animal and the bubble around you is having on the animal that you're working, and when you start to be in control of this animal with every step that he takes around, now your influence has become beneficial. When you're not aware that your influence is affecting this animal with every step, you might have 1 step of clear communication and 10 steps of unclear communication. 1 step of suggestion for the horse sends him off a little bit, which is what you wanted, and the horse says, I can't take this, I got to get away. And the horse takes 3 or 4 steps that you weren't involved with or allowed. Now the horse is back being in control. So as you're becoming aware, and aware of what? Basically the size of this bubble. You know, you need to learn to control your energy so that when you want this animal to soften, you want this animal to get closer to you, you've got to get smaller. Or you've got to numb this horse by exposing them to movement here until this movement doesn't mean anything, and then that will shrink this bubble too. If you want to move here to raise this bubble, you can do that when you see that raise the bubble on this horse. Then it was effective to get the animal's bubble bigger. So not only do you need to have control of the size of your bubble, you need to know how to utilize the size of the bubble around you to influence the size of the bubble around the animal that you're working. And that's what this video is about. And I really believe that if you'll if you'll become a student of this video and really watch it and go back and watch and listen and watch again and let it be a teaching tool for you, I think you're going to find that your experience in working with the animals on foot is going to greatly improve. And what does that mean when you get on their back? Anytime you have better communication on the ground with the horse, you're going to have better communication with them on their back. They just go hand in hand. So I don't think we should separate them out and have a horse that's just being wild and obnoxious on the ground and get on him and get him kind of controlled while you're on him, but when you're on the ground, you still can't catch him and all kind of obnoxious things that we've got to deal with all the time. Why not tie these things together and make the whole experience a much more pleasant experience for you and your horse? So I hope that made sense for you using these little wires, but basically the video is about you being able to raise the size of your bubble, where to place it, how to decrease the size of your bubble, where to place it to get the response that you want your animal to have with every step. So it's a pretty involved video, and I think it might be a little boring to watch because it's not a lot of activity. So what? You know, that's where these animals learn. They don't learn from carrying them around and you know, there's a time and a place for that. But most of the time, if we'll breathe, if we'll slow down, and if we'll watch and use common sense, position our body, get in a place where our influence is having a definite effect upon the animal that we're working, and most importantly is, how is this animal feeling about our interaction? Are we setting it up to where this horse is comfortable allowing us to move them around? I believe that's the most important thing, because this animal here is looking for a strong leader so that this animal can relax and be comfortable in the direction of this duck hunter that's out there with him. So anyway, hope you had fun with that, and I know there's a ton of information in this video. Don't just watch it. If you watch it, you're gonna miss it. This isn't a video that's entertaining to watch. This is a video that you're gonna want to keep in your library and come back to. And I just about guarantee you that any problem you have with a horse, you can come back and fix it in this video. I know that I have customers that have been coming here and taking lessons for years, and whenever they arrive at a problem, this is where we come back to. This is the foundation. This is where you know, real communication, real understanding takes place. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the video.